All right, LVN, man. Let's talk a little LVN. And I figured this would be a good night to do it. Paul Brettel put a cool tweet out, and we keep hearing rumors about him kicking inside. And I love the way Paul covers the Packers because he gives you the details that are important. He says, I think we'll see more movement from Van Ness this season. Thumb injury limited him to playing the right side mostly last season. We've also seen him at defensive tackle with second-team defense during the 2-minute drills in OTAs. Now, that would suggest passing situation, right? They kick him inside. Why do I know that's a 2-minute drill? They're probably, looking to move the ball down the field, kick him inside in a passing situation. We know that's what he did pretty darn well at Iowa in college, coming into the draft. So I get kind of excited thinking about that, Amelia. I don't know how you feel about it. Paul Brettel said in another tweet, pivotal third NFL season awaits Packers defensive end Lukas Van Ness. And then he went on to say in the tweet here, I think he wrote an article too with ESPN La Crosse, Wisconsin. I quote, I just think there's a different confidence level with him. I believe it was Matt LaFleur that said that. Now, I know there's people that like to hate on LVM and pretend like he's a horrible football player. I'm going to flash something up for you guys real quick, and I think this might surprise you. Let's go to NFL Pro, and let's look at the pressure percentage, quarterback pressure percentage. And again, Ryan did a great job on his podcast earlier in the year covering this. That second half of the season, he really turned it on, he being Lukas Van Ness. These are all of the defensive linemen in the NFL, guys. Every defensive lineman in the NFL. So keep in mind, this includes defensive tackles. This includes edge defenders. So again, when we're in a nickel defense, all right, you've got 4 starters that are included in this entire list throughout the NFL. Notice there's no qualified defenders only either. This is every single defensive tackle and defensive end or edge defender, okay? Look at the quarterback pressure percentage, all right? So, Emilio, there's 32 teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got 32 teams times 4 because there's 4 starters in every nickel defense,
Okay.
which teams are in nickel defenses 70% of the time.
128.
So 128. Anyone who is above the 128 mark in terms of quarterback pressure percentage is considered starter quality. All right. So if you go down this list here and find Lukas Van Ness, looky here. He's in the 62 spot at 11.2%. Again, that was a higher quarterback percentage according to NFL Pro and GPS tracking. And we can look at every one of those quarterback pressures on the tape by just clicking on that number right there. That's how you know they believe in their statistic. That was a higher pressure rate than TJ Watt, the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. Like when you go below him and look at some of these players, and we would have to go. Remember, Braden Fisk was all people were just ranting and raving over him, right? He's down there at 10.9%. And again, when you look at the guys that he's within range of, you got a DeForest Buckner there. You got Quinnen Williams, right? Another great pat. Chris Jones was at 12%. So he was less than 1% behind Chris Jones, one of the best defensive linemen in the entire National Football League. There's Max Crosby at 12.3%, right on his heels as well. So really, hey, there she is. Happy birthday, Mary.
Everyone's wishing her a happy birthday in the chat. So she heard her ears ringing. She came running.
She said that dumb redneck's talking about me. Anyway, happy birthday. Hopefully you've had a great day, Mary. So again, is LVN an elite pass rusher? No, not yet. Will he evolve into one? I don't know. But this idea that he is just horrible at rushing the quarterback is simply not true. Now, keep in mind, guys, 11.2 pressure percentage after going from playing 3-tech to 4-eye in college to having to play outside linebacker in a 34 defense at the NFL level, and then kicking to defensive end, a 5 to a 7 to a 9-tech in Jeff Hafley's 4-3 front, right? And with a broken thumb. And again, people say, oh, yeah, it ain't no big deal, put a club on it. You heard Rashawn Gary, you heard all these other people talk about how you got to use your hands to rush the passer. They literally were limited to putting him on one side of the formation because of the thumb that was injured, right? So I still have high hopes for Lukas Van Ness. And again, when you say, well, he only had 3 sacks, that's why it's important to look at the quarterback pressure percentage because, again, that heavy rotation. He only had 241 pass rushes last year, pass rush snaps. Okay.
Right.
So, again, we've showed you how we stunted, and we showed how Kenny was playing with turf toe or whatever it was, the two different injuries with his foot. And you could tell they used him in a touch spy in a lot of situations. So in many cases, LVN was crossing the face of the tackle into the guard. I've seen him and Gary stunt together several times on the same side of the field. So I want to get your take on Emilio, because to me, it would be different if he was down around the 100 mark. But you're talking about him being in the top half of defensive linemen in terms of quarterback pressure percentage with a broken thumb and having to play kind of one-sided last year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, looking up there, Quinnen Williams is at 50, right? I love Quinnen Williams, man. He's a dog. I think that, you're starting to kind of see LVN's not too far off, right? Chris Jones is at 47. There's a couple of guys around him. Joey Bosa is at 59. So you got big names around him. It's not like he's just in the dumps, right? He might not have the best numbers right this second, but okay, coming into year 3, how accurate can you take year 2 with an injury that he was fighting through all year? And again, I mean, it's on your hands. So imagine you got a broken thumb. You're not getting into 3-point stance, or you're only getting into one. That's why you only played one side of the line. You can only put one hand down. Imagine putting your broken thumb into the dirt. I mean, and then you're trying to chop, swim, push, pull, rip, any of those things. You don't have that tactile bend. Your thumb is key, man. I mean, even when you're running with the football, putting that eagle claw on it, I mean, anything, you're anything in football, you need that thumb. So I really am kind of excited the way he's going to tear up. Look, we got 17 games out of him. He showed up, he performed, played through injury. You can't be mad at the effort he's putting in there. I think that it kind of brings you back to that Greg Cosell thing. He heard that they're going to be, standing him up, putting him on the outside a little bit more, which is just different than he did at Iowa. So maybe Hafley said, okay, we tried that. He was fighting through the injury. Maybe we work him back inside and sort of go from there. But again, then you bring in competition that you drafted this year, and that's just going to push everybody to the next level. You brought in a couple good, a D lineman to push the ones that are there. You got Kobe Wood and Carl Brooks, Kenny and everybody in there. Then you bring in Nazir, you bring in Barron Sorrell, you bring in everybody to kind of push him. That D line is going to be different. And to that point, when Ross was on there, he was talking about how it's not the player you pick. It really can be sometimes about the coach you pick. I really think that getting our new D line coach, he was talking about their running back coach when he was on a team. And one year the quarterback was just getting lit up. They didn't know where to go. They didn't know how to pick up pass protections. They didn't know how to fill those. He said, next year we got a new running backs coach. They said it was night and day different. Same running backs, nothing different. The same running backs were on the team, but having a new coach, having, knowing where to go, having processes and things like that helped. He said that won us a game or two. He goes, so I really honestly do think position coaches can win you a game or two. Imagine that happens with our D-line now. I mean, we are in business, man. We really are. Just bringing a different aspect, energy, and information to that group.
Yeah, and again, with Kenny Clark, been real vocal the last few years. I didn't think they should have extended him for that amount. I still feel that way. But regardless, he's going to be better next year. That's one thing I feel very confident saying. Now, will he return to his darn near elite form under Mike Pettin way back in the day? Probably very little chance that happens with him approaching 30. However, he is going to be better because he's going to be healthy. There's no two ways about that. So you get a healthier Kenny Clark, you get a healthier LVN, you got these guys one more year into the system, right? Devontae Wyatt took a step forward, I feel like, last year, and in terms of quarterback pressure and playing the run a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Now you added to the mix, you got a Barron Sorrell, right? You got Rashawn Gary one more year removed from that ACL. And I honestly think that they're going to let Gary eat a little bit more this year as opposed to playing the run. But I don't want them to get too far away from what they did with the run defense last year as well. So it's going to come down to, you're going to see how good Jeff Hafley is this year, because you're going to have teams with all this footage that they got to watch all offseason on him. And now how quickly can he adjust to their adjustment for what the Packers did really, really well last year. So really, really excited to see how this defensive front kind of comes together, man. I think they've got a lot of promise, a lot of, a lot of upside. And like they said, Coach Covington, DeMarcus Covington, to this point in his career, keep in mind he coached multiple positions with New England, and he ended up being the defensive coordinator there that one year that Gerard Mayo was head coach. He has never had a first-round defensive lineman to coach. Think about that. And I'm telling you, when he was a positional coach there in New England, guys, they had some of the best defenses in the league. This was like, yes, New England wasn't winning championships, but outside of Belichick's last year and Gerard Mayo's only year, they were putting together scary defenses up there in New England still. Now, is it Belichick's scheme? Of course it's Belichick's scheme. He's one of, if not the greatest defensive minds in the history of the game. But Covington coached a lot of underrated players. What am I trying to say? Not underrated. Again, he never had a first-round pick that he coached. So these were people that were overachieving in that defense, and he was right there in the mix coaching them. So I think there's a lot to like there too, man. So Kenny Clark healthy, LVN healthy, Coach Covington stepping in for Rebrovich, the defensive line room. You still got Ogabasi kind of coaching the interior, big boys. Everything screams this defensive line is going to take a step forward. With that being said, I've been very vocal about this. They were 9th in the league in sacks last year. I don't care what people think they saw. They were not bad at rushing the quarterback, because when you turn on the tape, you could see how they were harnessing that pass rush big time. If they just turned those guys loose, you would have gotten more sacks. But I'll tell you what else you would have gotten. You'd have got your Tommy, a.k.a. Danny DeVito, quarterback scrambles, and everybody been screaming fire Jeff Hafley. So I think it's going to be a fun year, man. I think it's going to be a fun year. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, dude, just being able to bring pressure with 4, I think that is going to be key. You know how they were talking about how Kenny's holding tape sessions at his house and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. Where he's letting the guys come over, and it's not just, they'll come over, watch Thursday Night Football, yeah, but let's come over and check out some of this tape. Let's see what kind of footwork we're doing. Let's check our practice tape. It's like Mike and Wes were talking on there. It's like when you're in practice doing this stuff and you're out there, you're performing, you're not paying attention to your buddies, right? You're not paying attention to the other guys in the group. And so you're sitting there like, all right, how am I doing? Okay, I got through the day perfect, but let's go back and watch. Okay, what did LVN do on his first step? What was Brooks doing on his first step? Let's get all those guys in a room together. We can have some pizza and wings. And kind of see where we're going, see if we can't get each other better, see if Kenny can't find something, see if you find a little thing here or there, teach him a trick. All of those things are going to add up to help this team eventually. And just I love that Kenny's taken that step and that leadership to, hey, all right, come over to my place, we'll get this squared away. Been here before, done that. Let's move forward. Let's get everybody better.
Yeah. Reef says, yeah, do the comp between LVN and the first-round draft picks, mates. So let's go over to search linebacker to find him. Quarterback pressure percentage. Look at TJ Watt's pressure percentage last year. He's a first-round pick, right, if I remember correctly?
Dog.
9.3%. LVN was over 2% better in quarterback pressure percentage with TJ Watt last year, right? Now, you go, okay, what about sacks? Again, LVN is a part of a heavy rotation. You can't get mad at LVN over that. That's how the Packers use their pass rush. The same thing with Gary. Gary would have blew past 10-plus sacks if they didn't have the heavy rotation. If they had played him the same amount of snaps as they played a Max Crosby or a TJ Watt. Look at TJ Watt, 85.8% playtime, right? Mm-hmm. Rashawn Gary was, 60-something%, if I remember correctly? And again, we're talking LVN. So if we go to LVN, let's go to the Packers here. Remember that number, 85% with a 9, 85 and 9. Remember that.
Yep.
If we go to the Packers, and now we jump over to defensive line because people are too big idiots to understand this. 39%. 39% playtime.
Less than half.
Way less than that. Yeah, less than half, right? And then Rashawn Gary, 58%. And again, Rashawn Gary, 13.4% pressure rate.
Mm-hmm. But to that point, that was
the sacks are not there, guys.
Right.
That's it, right there.
And that's remember when I was texting you that one day. That was kind of my question. Is like, all right, we're doing all this rotation, but look how many 17s we have there. Look how many guys played 17 games, got through the entire season, played the whole season, even though that rotation might be a little heavy. We're getting guys to the postseason ready to play, healthy, ready to go. I think that could be a little bit of that rotation.
And when people mention TJ Watt and these numbers being, well, he's banged up. He's always banged up because they're running him into the damn ground. It's exactly what's going on. And I'm sorry, who had the better season last year? The Green Bay Packers or the Pittsburgh Steelers? Somebody remind me. You know what I'm saying? So let's go to the Raiders real quick. The Las Vegas Raiders. And I just want to see Max Crosby, 12.3%. Looky there. Rashawn Gary had a higher pressure percentage than him. Look at his playtime. And again, Max Crosby was banged up too, guys. 96% playtime.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know? And here's what's crazy. Everybody was screaming. Not everybody. I shouldn't say everybody. I'm getting mad now because I remember how many people were so, we need a trade for Max Crosby. 7.5 sacks with 96% playtime. I paused for dramatic effect. Jacob, what's going on, man?
No, nothing. You know,
how many times are you going to come to my press conference late? Sit your butt outside.
It was flawless. He waited till you spoke the first word before he did.
I've done that to him a few times this week. I'm good. I was just listening, trying to find if I had some time to jump on, and I couldn't resist. You know what I mean? So Max Crosby.
You hit it perfect for Tim.
There you go.
But look at that. 12 games played. So you lose them for a third of the season. You run them into the ground for 97% of the snaps. And what did it get you? 12% pressure.
And I'll just real quick jump in like that. That's the thing is you see that 96% playing time rate and you're like, oh, that's really great. But do you want, it's like the Alfredo's pizza. Do you want a medium amount of like great pizza or a small amount? What's the quote? You guys.
Do you want a medium amount of good pizza or a small amount of great pizza?
Small amount of great pizza.
Yeah. Like, no. Well, this is Alfredo's. This is Pizza Cafe, not the Pizza Kitchen. I don't know.
There's a difference in quality and ingredients. I'm just saying. So that's like, honestly, I get the hockey rotation point of the fact. Like, it's great to see that Max Crosby does what he does. I mean, that's insane that he almost plays 100% of the snaps. But the reality is that he's not 100% of those snaps. It's much like, what's that? Sex Panther. It works 80% of the time, 60% of the time. We're doing a lot of movie quotes tonight. It's Friday. Who gives a crap? But like the point is that they're just not 100% all the time. And I think that there is some credence to the fact where like if you can get LVN and Gary going on a few sets, and then you all of a sudden let your boy Cox go in there, you know what I mean? And he's got a guy like now Sorrell, or let's just say just anybody that's hungry. Oliver, a lot of these guys. Like I'd like to have a few rotational pieces that can go in there and absolutely light it up with a full fire behind him. Not like, and no disrespect to Max Crosby, he does really great ball, but he can only spread himself so thin and be so effective. You know what I mean?
Right. And since you bring that up, let's just look. Brenton Cox Jr., 13.7%. Playtime was only 35% of the time. He ended up with 4 sacks. So if you doubled that, right? If you doubled, he would have hit 70% playtime if you'd have gave him twice as many snaps, 70% playtime. He would have finished with 8 sacks. He was on pace for 8 sacks at 13.7% pressure rate. He would have outperformed both in sacks and quarterback percentage, both Max Crosby and TJ Watt last year. Brenton Cox Jr., an undrafted free agent. But I know the Packers pass rush was just horrible. It's just crazy. And again, when they said, well, we had to blitz a lot. That is not true. A blitz is when you bring 5 or more. Because you seen a linebacker scrape, you thought we blitzed when we were running 55 drop and dropping a defensive end into coverage. You were only bringing 4. Did we bring 5 and 6 at certain times? Absolutely we did. But this whole notion that we blitz more than anybody else in the league is just – it's not true. There's one guy that's on on my crap list on Milwaukee radio, you could just tell he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, and he speaks like he is just the authority on Packers football. And I'm like, this is hard to listen to. I respect the people that say, I'm not a tape guru. I'm not a this guy. I just cover the team. I respect those people. Like, I think Wildy is great at that. Wildy would tell you, I'm not diving into the tape. I write stories on the players. I've covered a team since 96. Like, he understands what it is he is, and I respect the hell out of him for that. But you get these other people, and they jump in, and it's like they grab one little thing, one clip of LVN getting blocked by a tight end and go, he can't even beat a tight end. And it's like, he was literally strafing across the line, covering the rushing lane. Anybody with two brain cells to rub together can see what he's doing there. The same thing with Kenny. Like, you guys remember last year with Kenny, we're going, he's not really rushing the quarterback. He's playing like a touch spy. He's engaging with a double team, and you can see eyes up, somewhat vertical, looking for the quarterback to scramble or looking for the running back to come through the line, right? And now we find out it was by design. Mm-hmm. They knew if we put him in a one, that's why last year I'm going, why is he not in a 3-tech? He's in a 1-tech all the time in this nickel defense. They knew if we put him in the 1-tech, they're going to double him. Well, guess what? That singles up for Devontae Wyatt. Yep. Lo and behold, he's right on the cusp of 10% pressure rate, right?
With 2 busted injuries in there.
Yes. And it's literally like, use that person and the player he is, and how offenses will try to scheme around blocking him without them knowing he's so banged up he can't rush the quarter. If teams knew that about Cam, people say, well, why didn't he say he was going to play? That's why. The second he says that, do you think they're double teaming him anymore?
Right. Man. I mean, and look at that playing time percentage. Kenny is leading the team, 62%. Right. I mean, that is the max amount of playing time we've gotten out of that D line as like reps, and snaps on the field. Then you have Rashawn, and then you just kind of whittle it away. But nobody has to be 100% on the field, getting gassed, getting beat. Let's keep everybody fresh as possible. Rotate Kenny in, and on top of being fresh, you can rotate him in with injuries and not really have that much of a drop off. If you're looking at pressure percentage, LVN had the busted up thumb, only played 40% of the time. If you can give me 100%, 40% of the time, LVN, hey, I mean, let's go. We'll worry about the thumb next year. Let's get you through this year and play hard.
Right. Coach Lynn says, name that man, Clayton. I ain't going to do it, Coach, because I'm not out here to try to start an argument with people. As bad as I want to, because there's been a couple times here lately I'm like, oh, I'd like to get a hold of that son of a gun. Mm-hmm. Just because he talks down to people, like he's the authority. And it's funny, too, because when you get someone who's covered a team for a significant amount of time who have a conversation with him, they back him down real quick. You can tell they're like, who is this guy? What the hell what are you doing?
I got a name for you, Clay.
Duval.
Unbelievable. Chris Casualian, I think finally somebody found the number, because I didn't know what it was. I just knew it would be low. Chris Casualian says, Clay, Packers were like second lowest blitz rate in the NFL last season. There you go. They had to manufacture pressure all year long because the pass rush was non-existent. The hell away from me. Unbelievable. All right. Anything else on the pass rush? This is a fun conversation, though, because again, it's cool to look into, to dive into the info, right? And again, nobody's saying that the Packers pass rush was the fearsome foursome. Nobody's saying this is the purple people eaters. Nobody's saying this is Vince Lombardi's, Willie Davis rushing off the edge here. Nobody's saying that, right? We're simply saying to pretend like they're bottom of the league when they finished 9th in sacks, and they got their backups have higher pressure percentages than some of the best pass rushers in the game it's just silly, man. It really is. So what was you going to say, Joe?
Yeah, when Emilio highlighted the fact that Kenny Clark is sitting there with a 62.6% play time percentage, does that surprise any of you? Or if you're like me, does it kind of shine a light like, yeah, that's maybe why we kind of scoff at the defensive line play? And maybe it's because, again, we don't know exactly what Kenny Clark's assignments were, what they asked him to do. But is it surprising the guy that had the least, I wouldn't say least, but one of the lowest amounts of production was up there the highest, and for whatever reason we didn't make that substitution, that adjustment? Does that make sense?
And I have the luxury now of the season's over, and we've talked about it 1,000 times, and we've watched the tape 100 times. But now it makes sense. Like Jacob, he couldn't rush the quarterback because of the injury. So they said, you know what? If we put him in a one tech and that nickel, that's going to draw a double team.
Yeah.
And just let him play patty cake out there.
Mhm.
Because again, if you're drawing a double team, that's a win for that player. You're going +1 in the hat count game, right?
Can I play devil's advocate and just ask, like, is that another excuse for another reason why Kenny Clark doesn't perform in a year where he's getting paid top dollar? Like, if somebody wanted to say, hey, Kenny Clark, like, if he's good enough to play, why isn't he good enough to actually impact the game? He's good enough to just sit there and absorb double teams. Is that what you would argue? Like, again, I'm just being devil's advocate. I'm not saying this myself.
No, yeah. To me, it's the toe injury. Again, like he could not rush the pass. Just couldn't.
He can't set his base, right? Imagine, like, as a defensive player, having to set your stance. What is your plan? Like, you're digging in with the tips of your feet. You know what I mean?
Bro, I'm telling you right now, I strained a ligament in my big fat toe one time, and I was hobbling around like I was 83 years old. It was the most painful. It's just like, oh, this is the nerves, and it's unbelievable. I couldn't imagine. And on top of that, listen, I'm a big fella. Don't get me wrong. I need to drop some weight.
Thick.
God, that was quick. But being over 300 pounds and dealing with that kind of toe injury, that was so. Yeah, Tim's somewhere right now. That was really quick. Emilio was just waiting. Give me a chance to make.
Where's Tim? That was too good of a drop.
Thank you.
All right. So again, it's not to say, guys, we have the best pass rush in the league. We have a top 5 pass. I'm not saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm simply saying they need to get better. Yes, but when you watch the tape from last year, they weren't pinning their ears back and just going after the quarterback.
Right.
And you okay, well, what did that get us? The second best run defense in the league. That's what got us.
And you're kind of wanting to use Kenny more like a boogeyman than anything. It's
Right.
like, all right, if you're really, really hurt, then all right, let's just, we'll keep you grinding and we'll take it easy on you in practice. We'll get you through. But I need you to be that scary threat that they think that could go off. But hey, oh man, these teams are doing such a good job containing Kenny. I mean, they're doubling him really well. They're blocking him up really well. They've just been able to really kind of keep him stopped. All right, fine, no problem. Kenny's in there taking his shots. Let's rotate the edges in. Let's rotate that hockey line. Keep everybody else fresh on the outside.
This is the line of the night. You're hitting a great point, and I have to look down and see Clint say, "A-Fan buys underwear from Baby Gap." He's flat in the front like Ken. What movie was that? What was that? Is that a Will Ferrell movie? Anyway,
It's gotta be,
yeah, it's gotta be, right? No, but and I was sitting there thinking too, like, if you guys go back and listen to the Play Caller podcast, or the Play Callers, what it was called, by Jordan Rodriguez.
Yeah, the Athletic.
Yeah, now would be a good time, Emilio, to go back and listen to that, since we're in a dead time, just to get kind of refreshed on it. You'll remember Kyle Shanahan. I want to create one of these boards he's talking about, a glass board where you can draw plays on it, where it's see-through, and then use different color marker to draw like the counters to each play and this and that. So anyway, it was him and Robert Saleh. I can't remember if Robert Saleh said it on the pod or if it was Kyle Shanahan, but football is real simple. All football is, guys, is attacking space and defending space. That's all it is, right? Now, how do you defend that space? How do you attack that space? You do that with players, right? So it's all about winning the hat count. Kenny Clark, on that touch spy, you win the hat count plus. You know what it's the equivalent to on offense? It's the equivalent to Christian Watson taking the top off of defense and forcing them to bracket cover. Right now, we didn't quite get to the point where they were completely bracket covering him, but you would get guys in those zones playing on their heels, like, we're not going to let him beat us deep type thing, and that's what would open up things underneath. And with him being banged up, obviously they're able to clamp down on Jaden Reed a little bit. It's just like in the running game. Like, why do we run pin and pull? It's still a gap. It's still a gap, and it's still a hat. That's what it's all about. So, what if we go into this year and this pass rush does just take off, and maybe the run defense takes a slight step back to, like, rather than 4 yards a carry, it goes to 4.3 yards a carry, and they drop to around the 10 mark. But the pass rush just goes absolute ape crap, and they're top 3 in the league in sacks. You know what I'm saying? That could very well happen with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Now, injuries could happen too because these guys are a year older. I'm not so much concerned with LVN, but Kenny's got a lot of tread on that tire, man. A lot of tread on that tire. Like that dude, I mean, I don't even want to know what y'all are laughing at. Kenny has been in the league since he was 20 years old. He might have even been 19. It was something crazy. Like he was just turned 20, I think. Right. He's approaching 30. That's a 10-year vet. That's not like a 23-year-old coming in the league and playing for 7 years. That's a 20-year-old coming in the league and playing for a decade. So I can't imagine he's just going to all of a sudden be healthier than he's ever been. I hope that's the case. But all right, anything else, boys? What you want to share with the class? What y'all are giggling about over there? Is it inappropriate?
It's not appropriate, that's for sure.
No, I was saying, pretty sure Jacob gets his shirts from Vice City GTA thrift store, but
okay.
Besides that, no, nothing really going on. We have a good D line. We have a new D line coach, and I think that this year is going to be different in that front four there.
Yeah. And again, just to recap the pass rush, Jacob. Brenton Cox Jr. 13.7%. Rashawn Gary, 13.4, Lukas Van Ness, 11.2, and then on the interior, Devontae Wyatt at 9.7. Okay?
And did you by chance highlight the fact that those numbers are drastically skewed by the back half of the season? That in the last 8 weeks, those guys were actually up in Gary and Cox were in the 18 and 19% range. Like even guys like the interior Wyatt was actually, I think, like around the 13-ish range. Like they turned it on. LVN as well. So I'm not worried at all. I really am not. I just think that the defensive line coach may be one of the biggest low-key additions to this offseason that we're not talking about, you know? I can't remember exactly the way you worded it just a few minutes earlier, but you're like, would we be surprised if we have – no, I wouldn't be surprised. We've got a ton of first-round draft picks. We have a ton of capital that we invested through the draft and this defense, specifically the defensive line. I hope is it Covington?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, DeMarcus Covington.
I hope this guy absolutely lights a fire under these dudes, and we get ourselves an absolute just feast. Like if that D line can come to their potential, which again, it's a lot of first year, second year, third year, fourth year players. If they all take steps in the right way, Lord help us, because that linebacker room and I think the secondary could be something to reckon with if those guys all take steps or exceed their or even meet their potential.
Now, the bad news is it's going to be really, really difficult to duplicate what we did in terms of interceptions last year on defense. I hope they can, but I'm going in being realistic. Can we really expect Xavier McKinney to get that many picks again?
I don't think he will specifically, but I think we can get more as a group. I really do.
If we do, it's game on. I expect that number to go down a touch, but I also expect Jordan Love's interceptions to go down a touch. So that's going to kind of balance out. And every game's a different game. Like you've got to win that turnover differential week in and week out. You've got to have a chance. So in terms of quarterback pressures, Rashawn Gary led the Packers with 52 pressures. And Kenny Clark and LVM were second at 27. So LVM with only 39% play time finished with 27 quarterback pressure, second best on the league or on the team. Kingsley Nibardi finished with 26 and a 46% play time. Devontae Wyatt with 23. But again, his play time was significantly less than Kenny Clark's at 40.7. So, there you go. So, again, for the Rashawn Gary haters, he led the team in pressures. He led the team in sacks with 7.5. He also led the team with run stops with 39. So,
can you put it on playing time percentage real fast?
Yeah, man.
So, there's only 2 people on this roster that played over 50% of the snaps on defense.
Correct.
2 people on D-line. Preston Smith is gone now. And I think that's going to be different this year, not having Preston for 300 snaps. I think those are going to obviously get dispersed around. But think about that, man. The fact that 2 people are only on the field over 50% of the time means, one, the offense can't get their hands on us, or it could be two things. Like maybe we're rotating too much and our team can't get into a groove, and maybe we're not, or maybe we are rotating enough that's keeping the offense so off balance, not used to who's coming at them.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I remember just a couple years ago, me and Baz, I was on his show with him, and we were talking about the rotation. It's like, yeah, it seems like the snap percentage peaks at 65% for the Packers, right? Talking about the play time. It's actually gone down since then, which is crazy. So let's hit a couple.
65%. 65%. That's what
it's amazing how much that number comes up.
Yeah.
Let's hit a couple Patreon questions real quick, and we'll get out of here. Okay, I almost forgot about these. We hit them we already hit them. We're good. That's
the ones at the beginning.
Yeah. So we're good there.
Yeah, our guys better wake up with their piss hot, like I said before.
So again, if you want your questions read here on the air, just go to patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access. It's the best way to support the show. $3 tier gets you access to everything, including questions for the show. And then tomorrow, anyone who's a member of that $3 tier, make sure you're a member by 12 midnight tonight, okay? We're going to put everybody's name on the wheel and spin it tomorrow for an autograph Kings Landing Barre rookie card. Really, really cool piece of memorabilia here, donated from Rick Kruger. So anything else, gents? We good?
Thank you to Rick Kruger for mine. I don't know if I did it on the show, but I got mine, sir. Clayton and Manny were able to swing that this way, so I appreciate it. I need to get a little shelf for him.
Yeah, he sent each of us a separate package, and then he sent a bunch of stuff to give away. And really, really, really awesome. I love the Tony Mandarich autograph, man. Absolutely.
Oh, that's clean.
That might be my favorite, but I think it's the Edge Cooper one's my fave. That's got to be.
Did
you get an Edge Cooper too, Amelia?
Yeah.
Mine's better. He said mine's better.
He said Jacobs is worth more. That's awesome.
Aw, that's cool. Hey, yours is different though.
Yeah, I know. Mine's better, obviously. Yeah.
There it is.
Rick.
All right. We're out of here, guys. This is God Almighty. The chat. Just don't look at the chat. All right, we're out, guys. Everybody have a wonderful evening. We'll be back tomorrow